Hey, when you think of your life, what are your biggest dreams? You know, your dreams are far more than wishful thinking. As world-renowned musician and master storyteller and motivational speaker Zoro shows, your dreams are a very special gift from God designed to help you soar. In fact, in his new book, Soar, Zoro shares 9 vital life principles that'll help you unlock your limitless potential and guide you into a life of impact, intention, and adventure, regardless of your age or what you've accomplished so far. But before we talk to him, let's look at him in action. Well, sorry, we had to interrupt the concert to bring you this interview. Zoro, that was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe.
Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here. It's my honor.
Yeah, well, it was a real joy for me to read your book, Soar, just filled with so many practical things. And I find that sometimes the most epic things can be so simple in nature, and you lay them out in a really, understandable kind of a way. Before we get to the actual book, tell us about Zoro. Maybe there's some people who don't know who you are or haven't heard a lot about you. Tell us about the adventures that have led to Zoro.
Well, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah.
I grew up in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
I grew up with a single mother and 7 brothers and sisters, and we lived in an area of Los Angeles known as Compton, which is known as South Central. That's where I started in the early part of my life. And life was a very big struggle for us in every way, without a father and very limited finances. And we moved a lot. Life was very unstable a lot of instability for us all over. By the time I was in 4th grade, we probably moved around 23, 24 times.
Oh, wow.
Constantly moving. So we had many challenges on all fronts, but we lived in abject poverty, but we were never without hope because my mother instilled hope in us. She had faith in Jesus, and she had faith that we could overcome the circumstances. So I grew up as a young boy as a dreamer. I began to dream of doing things that were well past what looked possible, and I learned to look past the circumstances and see things through the eyes of faith. So I dreamt at a young boy. I dreamt about being a drummer.
Okay.
I dreamt about being an author. I dreamt about being a speaker and a teacher, and all the things that I've done in my life that have come to pass are all things that I dreamt of when I was young. For those who don't know me, for the last 30-some years, I have toured and recorded with many famous recording artists as their drummer.
Yeah.
Beginning with Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind & Fire, the lead singer.
Yeah.
And then the New Edition, which was a huge group in the 80s, and then Bobby Brown, and then Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and Lenny Kravitz. So I became known around the world as a drummer, which then paved the way for my platform as a speaker and as an author. But it's been an incredible journey, a journey of faith, and a journey filled with adventure and ups and downs and breakthroughs and setbacks like anybody else.
Of course. You know, I love something that you said in another interview I was kind of watching in prepping, to sit down with you today. You said this, you talked about knowing the Lord before you even knew he existed. I thought that's kind of deep for a child.
Well, I think when I was real little, I just felt the presence of God before anybody could explain conceptually what God was. I just felt that he was, and I don't know why that is. I think sometimes God reveals himself to people in different ways and for different reasons, but I felt his spirit revealed himself to me when I was really little, and I just always felt that he was. I don't know why, but maybe because he knew that later I would use everything in my life to serve him. He knew that later that I would use every bit of knowledge, every bit of experience, all of my adventures to really show people who God is.
I think it's awesome how, God can use us no matter where we come from or what our backgrounds are. And I believe that God, he's the eternal one, and God lives outside space and time. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end, and he knew that if he gifted you, he knew that if he called you that you would respond.
Thank God I did.
Yeah, thank God. I'm glad you did, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you're here and you're able to share, with us some of the things that you've learned along the way. And I really just want to encourage folks to get a copy of this book, Soar. It's an easy read, and I mean that in the most pleasant of ways.
Thank you.
It was natural. It flowed from one point to the next, and I was kind of going through the chapters, and man, I wish we had time to go through every single
I know,
point.
there's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there, but you go through these chapters. You have surrender, discover, dream, strategize, pursue, believe, bend, be, and impact.
Yes.
Right. So let's start back at the beginning. You say the first thing we need to do, if we want to soar, if we want to live for so much more, we need to surrender ourselves to God, acknowledge He exists. That's like kind of ground zero.
That's the first thing, because you can never fulfill the will of God without actually knowing God.
Right.
So the first thing is to surrender your life to Him and just say, Lord, what do you want to do with my life? What do you want me to do with what you've given me, the skills, the talents, the abilities? And that has to be an act of will on your part. You have to want to serve Him, because you could clearly still be using your gift and talent and never serve God, but you'll never be living for the so much more. You'll never really be aligned with Him, and you'll never get the fulfillment of walking with Him and personally knowing that you're walking out your calling. You can only do that when you actually know Him, and that's always going to be an act of will. You have to surrender.
Okay, and when did that happen for you, Zoro? Was it at a really early age? Was it later on in life?
Yes, it happened at a very early age, probably about 10 years old, at a Baptist summer church camp where they did an altar call, and I felt the presence of God, and I was crying, and I walked up there and received Jesus. But surrender is never, all of the 9 life principles in the book are ongoing. You're never done. For instance, there's many levels of surrender, and you could surrender daily different things to God. And, and you're never done impacting people, which is the 9th principle. I want to impact people to the day I'm not here, to the day I go to heaven. So that's why I call them principles and not steps, because it's something that is constantly evolving and ongoing, because you can always reach higher levels of all of them.
That's a great insight, man. Again, some of the most profound things can be so simple, because you surrender to God, but then you have to surrender daily to His will. You have to surrender daily to the call that He's placed on your life. And you've been doing that. You've been surrendering for a long time. And look at what God has done in your life.
Well, it's awesome. It just proves that His ways are higher than our ways. He knows better. He knows for us what's best more than we do. We think we know what's best, but I know that He will craft my life and direct my life in such a way, if I surrender to Him, that the best possible outcome is going to come out of that. And I'm more interested in producing the fruit that I'm here on the planet to do. And part of that is teaching people these principles I've learned. You talked about simple. Well, some of the most profound things in life are simple.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean they're easy to execute.
There you go.
Like
right.
we all know it's simple. We should eat right, but do we do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But I write in a way that's I'm a very simple man, and God has given me principles that are simple to understand and apply. But yet sometimes when we get something profoundly simple, we go, man, I should have been doing this all along. I get it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we all learn in different ways. We all receive information in different ways. But the book was to inspire people to dig out the true riches that are inside of them, because most of us aren't living out our full potential. We're barely tapping what we're capable of, what's possible inside of us. So my joy in life is to rally people to dig deeper, to go for more, and to understand the reasons why. For me to keep excelling and to keep soaring, the reason is so I could touch more people with my life. There's no other reason. The reason is so I could impact more people. The reason that I wrote a book is because I knew that I'm only going to have so many one-on-one conversations with people in my lifetime. And yet I'm always available everywhere I go in the world for those one-on-ones on planes, trains, buses, automobiles, concerts. But a book is how you can reach many more people.
That's right.
And television is how I can reach many more people with a message of hope and purpose, which I'm only going to meet people one-on-one, so many of them.
That's right. Well, listen, man, we start with surrender, and then, somebody looks at you and says, well, it's easy for you to talk about, doing stuff for God. You're such a talented drummer, and you've done all these amazing things. But the second principle is you talk about discovering. We need to take the time to discover the gifts that we've been given by God.
Well, the thing is, every single person watching will be without excuse on the day of judgment, because God has given to all of us gifts and talents. They all look different. They're all different, and you know, not everybody's a drummer, not everybody's an author, not everybody, but everybody's got something.
Right.
The problem is a lot of people negate what they have, or they take it for granted and they don't do anything to develop it. But he's given everybody a gemstone of treasure inside, but it's up to them to mine it out. It's up to them to dig it out. The scriptures say, you know, that it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, and the glory of kings to search the matter out. So God is not hiding things from us. He's hiding them for us to discover, because that's the joy and the journey of life, is this discovery process of mining out the treasures, because that's where the joy is you're, oh, wow, I've discovered I have this. Now we have an accountability to do something with what he gave us. Yeah. Whether we discover it or not, it's there. It's up to us to discover it and do something.
Man, I think you're going to start preaching soon. Okay, so we've surrendered, we're discovering. We only have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to pop through a few of these. You have dream, then you have strategize, but then this one's important, I think, to pursue. You know, they look at a guy like you and says, oh, again, it's so easy, he's famous or he's done this, but it wasn't handed to you. You had to pursue it and work really hard for it.
Nothing I've done in my life has been easy. It has been filled with obstacles, opposition, setbacks, disappointments, failures. Every single thing I've ever done has been I've had to go through so many things to become a speaker, to become an author, to become a drummer. None of it was easy. But the pursuit, the fifth step is to pursue, is really just hard work. And I was willing to do that hard work, and I'm willing to do that hard work now. I flew all the way from Los Angeles yesterday, you know, 5-6 hours to get here to do the TV show, and then go back tomorrow so that I can impact people in Canada. This is all work. But the difference is, when you're doing what you're called to do, it's joyous work. I mean, it is work, but when you're walking in your lane, when you're fulfilling the will of God in your life, there's a joy even in the work part of it. But you know, Thomas Edison had a quote. He said, you know, opportunity is missed by most people because it comes dressed up in overalls and looks a lot like work. It's work.
I like that. It is work, and you know, if you can believe it, our interview has run its course.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes you wonder, like, God, how are you going to fill this time? And then you get somebody like you who just has so much to give. And I think the last point that you have in the book is impact. And I want you to know that through this telecast, through this book, I believe that God has used you, is using you, man. And he's going to continue to use you to impact the lives of tens of thousands of people. And I just want to say, you know, thank you for surrendering, discovering, pursuing, dreaming, doing all of these things, because now so many people are going to come into the kingdom because of your act of obedience. And I just want to bless you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I always tell people I only have one goal at this point in my life, and I just have one single goal, and all other goals are subordinate to the one goal. And the one goal is to affect as many people as humanly possible with my lifespan, and bring them into a knowledge of Jesus Christ, and bring them into the kingdom of God, and make their life better because I lived. Because if at the end of our life we didn't make people's life better, then we lived a life in vain. We lived a life of self. And I want to just affect as many people as humanly possible, because I realize that's all life is about. We're here and then we're gone.
Yeah.
And in between, how many people's life got better because Joe lived, because Zoro lived, because the people out there lived. We're here to be a light in a dark place. We're here to impact. That's it.
Well, thank you for sharing that vision. And I just want to encourage you who are watching at home and you're hearing this interview, and maybe you tuned in because you've been to a concert he's played out, or you've heard of some of the artists that he's played with, and you really weren't sure what he was going to talk about, but it's affected you. It's kind of hit you, and you're saying, wow, what's this all about? Can I encourage you? There's a number on the bottom of your screen. You can take that down. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime. Know that there will be somebody here who will pray for you.